The small girl in seat 12C looked completely normal. Nobody paid attention to her, nobody knew that both pilots were unconscious in the cockpit, and nobody expected what was about to happen next. A 14-year-old voice would soon transmit three words that would shock every military helicopter in the area. Call sign Phoenix. Before you continue reading, please comment below which country you are from. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories. Emma Rodriguez was 14 years old. She had long brown hair tied in a simple ponytail. She wore a gray hoodie with her school logo on it. Her sneakers were old and worn out. She sat in the middle seat on Flight 447 from Chicago to Los Angeles. To everyone around her, she was just another teenager traveling alone, maybe visiting family, maybe going on a school trip. Nothing special, nothing unusual. But Emma was far from ordinary. The businessman next to her was busy typing on his laptop. The woman, on her other side, was sleeping. Nobody noticed the way Emma's eyes constantly scanned the cabin. Nobody saw how she counted the rows to the emergency exits. Nobody heard what was playing in her white earbuds. It wasn't music. It was a woman's voice teaching aviation procedures. Emergency descent protocol, the voice said. When cabin pressure drops, you have less than 15 seconds before you lose consciousness. Oxygen mask first. Always. Emma's lips moved silently, repeating the words. Her hands rested on her lap, making tiny movements. To anyone watching, she looked like she was just fidgeting. But these movements were muscle memory, movements practiced thousands of times. Nobody knew the truth about Emma Rodriguez. Nobody knew her mother had been Captain Lisa Rodriguez, one of the best helicopter pilots in the United States Coast Guard. Nobody knew Lisa's call sign was Phoenix. She earned that name during her first rescue mission when she flew into a storm everyone said was impossible, saved 12 people from a sinking ship, and emerged through lightning and rain with everyone alive. Nobody knew that Captain Lisa Phoenix Rodriguez had flown 89 rescue missions over 8 years. She had saved 203 lives. She had medals and awards from the Coast Guard, and nobody knew what happened 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Captain Lisa Rodriguez's helicopter went down during a rescue mission in the Pacific Ocean. Bad weather. Equipment failure. The official report said she was lost at sea. Her body was never recovered. There was a memorial service, military honors, a folded flag given to 11-year-old Emma, who stood silent and didn't cry while adults sobbed around her. Everyone thought Lisa Rodriguez was dead, but Emma knew something different, something she had never told anyone. Her mother was alive. The helicopter crash 3 years ago wasn't an accident. Lisa had discovered something terrible. She found proof that someone high up in the Coast Guard was involved in drug smuggling. They were using Coast Guard resources to help drug traffickers. Lisa had collected evidence. She was planning to report it when she returned from her mission, but the people she was investigating found out. They decided to kill her. They sabotaged her helicopter. They wanted it to look like an accident. They wanted to make sure she never spoke about what she knew. The helicopter did crash. Lisa's co-pilot died instantly. Lisa survived but was badly injured. A fishing boat found her floating in the ocean. The fishermen were immigrants, undocumented, afraid of authorities. They couldn't take her to a hospital. Instead, they treated her wounds themselves. They helped her hide. Lisa made a hard choice. If she came back from the dead, the people who tried to kill her would try again. And next time, they would go after Emma. They would hurt her daughter to keep their secrets safe. So Lisa stayed dead. She disappeared, changed her identity, moved constantly, never stayed in one place too long. But she never abandoned Emma. For 3 years, Lisa had secretly stayed in contact with her daughter through methods so careful that nobody could trace them. Burner phones, bought with cash, used once, then thrown away. Email accounts created in libraries, accessed through special networks that hid their location, messages hidden in video game chats where they pretended to be strangers. Emma's grandparents thought their daughter was dead. They never knew Lisa was alive. Lisa couldn't tell them. They might accidentally reveal something. They might make a mistake. Only Emma knew the truth. At age 11, Emma learned her mother was alive but could never come home. At age 11, she learned to lie to everyone she knew. At age 11, she learned the world was more dangerous than she ever imagined. But Lisa didn't just stay in contact to talk. She did something more important. She trained Emma to survive. 6 months after the death, a package arrived at Emma's grandparents' house. Inside was a laptop and a note in Lisa's handwriting. For your education. Love, Mom. The laptop had flight simulator software, professional programs used by real pilot schools, and audio files, hundreds of audio files of Lisa's voice teaching flight principles. Lesson 1: How Aircraft Fly. How to fly using instruments when you can't see outside. Lesson 50: Emergency procedures when everything goes wrong. 3 times every week at exactly 9 p.m., Emma would log into a private server. Lisa would be there, watching Emma's simulator screen from wherever she was hiding, coaching her through flight scenarios. Lisa never appeared on video. Too dangerous. Just her voice through encrypted audio. Good, Emma. Now reduce your speed. Flaps to position 2. You're drifting left. Small correction. Perfect. Emergency descent. You have rapid decompression at 35,000 feet. What do you do first? Oxygen mask, Mom. Good. Then check aircraft control. Then check altitude. Now show me the descent. By age 12, Emma had 500 hours of simulator time. By age 13, 800 hours. Now at 14, she had 1,000 hours of professional flight training, all virtual, all secret, all taught by a mother who existed only as a voice. Lisa's instructions were always clear. This isn't about making you a pilot, Emma. You're too young for that. This is about keeping you alive. If you're ever in danger, if you're ever on an aircraft in crisis, you'll have the skills you need, because I can't be there to protect you myself. Emma never questioned the training. She understood. Her mother was alive, but had to stay hidden. The training was their connection, the only way they could still be mother and daughter. Every session ended the same way. I love you, Emma, more than anything. I love you too, Mom. Stay safe. You too, baby. Always. For 3 years, Emma practiced scenarios she hoped would never happen in real life. Engine failures, system breakdowns, pilot unconsciousness, emergency landings, until today. Today, Emma was traveling alone on Flight 447 from Chicago to Los Angeles. Spring break, visiting her aunt, a normal flight, nothing special. She sat in seat 12C with her earbuds in, listening to one of her mother's training files. Rapid decompression means you have seconds to react. Oxygen mask first, always. Emma's lips moved silently, repeating the words. Her hands made tiny movements on her lap, adjusting imaginary controls. Moving an imaginary control stick. The businessman next to her thought she was just a fidgeting kid. He had no idea what those movements meant. Nobody on the plane knew what Emma Rodriguez was capable of. They were about to find out. The explosion happened without warning. One moment, Flight 447 was cruising smoothly at 35,000 feet over Nevada. Passengers reading, watching movies, sleeping. Flight attendants preparing drinks. The next moment, everything changed. Bang! A massive sound shook the aircraft, like a bomb, like metal ripping apart, like the end of the world. A large section of the fuselage near the cockpit failed. A huge hole opened in the pressure hull. Air rushed out with terrifying force. The sound was deafening, like standing inside a tornado. The cabin pressure dropped from normal to the thin air of 35,000 feet in 5 seconds. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, yellow rubber masks swinging wildly in the rushing air. People screamed. Some grabbed for masks, some sat frozen in shock, their brains already suffering from lack of oxygen. Children cried. Adults shouted. Flight attendants tried to maintain order, but their voices were lost in the roar of wind. Emma's response was instant and automatic. Her hand shot up and grabbed her oxygen mask. She pulled it over her face. The elastic band went around her head. She took deep, steady breaths. Good oxygen flow. She was safe. Her training had taken over. No panic, no confusion. Just execute the procedures exactly as taught. While others panicked around her, Emma's mind was already analyzing the situation. Explosive decompression. That meant sudden structural failure, not a slow leak. A violent instant breach. The cabin decompression was severe. That meant the breach was large. The sound came from near the cockpit. That meant the cockpit decompressed too. Pilots are supposed to get their oxygen masks on within seconds. But if the cockpit decompression was violent, if debris was flying, if the pilots were hit or disoriented, they might not have gotten their masks on in time. Emma looked around the cabin. Most passengers now had masks on. Flight attendants were helping people, checking on children, trying to keep everyone calm. But something was wrong. The aircraft lurched. The nose dropped slightly. The wings weren't level. Someone should be flying the plane. The pilots should be making adjustments, keeping everything stable, beginning an emergency descent to 10,000 feet where everyone could breathe without masks. But the aircraft felt like it was on autopilot, with nobody watching it. Small movements in pitch and roll, nothing dangerous yet, but evidence that nobody was controlling the aircraft. 30 seconds had passed since the decompression number announcement from the captain. No calm voice saying, "We've experienced rapid decompression. We're beginning emergency descent. Please remain seated." Just the roar of wind and screams. 45 seconds, still no announcement. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt and stood up, keeping her oxygen mask on. The businessman next to her grabbed her arm. His eyes were wide with fear above his mask. "Sit down," he shouted, voice muffled. "Stay in your seat." Emma pulled her arm away. "I need to check something." She moved into the aisle. A flight attendant was staggering toward the cockpit. Older woman, gray hair, name tag reading Sarah. Sarah was heading for the cockpit door. Emma followed her. "Get back to your seat," Sarah shouted when she noticed Emma. "You're a child. Sit down." "I can help," Emma said. Her voice was calm, steady. Sarah didn't hear or didn't believe her. She reached the cockpit door and punched in the emergency code. The door opened. Sarah looked inside and gasped. Emma pushed past her to see. The cockpit was a nightmare. Both pilots were unconscious, slumped forward in their seats, held by shoulder harnesses. The cockpit had been right next to the structural failure. The decompression here was even more violent than in the passenger cabin. The pilots' oxygen masks were hanging uselessly. They hadn't gotten them on in time. At 35,000 feet without oxygen, a person has about 15 seconds before losing consciousness. The pilots had been unconscious for over a minute now. They were still breathing, but completely unresponsive. The aircraft was flying entirely on autopilot. Nobody conscious to control it. Sarah stood frozen. Emma pushed past her and stepped into the cockpit. "What are you doing?" Sarah screamed. "Get out! You're a child." "I'm saving this airplane," Emma said quietly. She moved to the co-pilot's seat and sat down. The seat was too big, the pedals too far away. She quickly adjusted everything. Seat height, seat position, pedals forward. Her hands found the controls like they'd done this 10,000 times. Because in simulators, she had. Her eyes scanned the instruments. Altitude, 32,000 feet and descending slowly. Speed, 270 knots and decreasing. Autopilot, engaged but struggling. Engines, both running normally. Fuel, adequate. She reached for the radio and selected the emergency frequency, 121.5 megahertz, the Universal Emergency Channel. She pressed the transmit button. "Mayday, mayday, mayday." Flight 447, catastrophic decompression at 35,000 feet. Both pilots unconscious. "I am a passenger taking control of the aircraft." The response from air traffic control was immediate. "Flight 447, this is Los Angeles Center. Confirm emergency. Who is operating the aircraft?" Emma's voice was steady despite her pounding heart. "Los Angeles Center, Flight 447. My name is Emma Rodriguez. I am 14 years old. I have 1,000 hours of flight simulator training. I can fly this aircraft, but I need assistance." Stunned silence. Then the controller's voice came back, carrying shock. "Flight 447. Did you say 14 years old?" "Affirmative. I need assistance before this aircraft descends into terrain. What are your instructions?" Before Los Angeles Center could respond, a different voice broke in. Male, professional, military. "Flight 447, this is Hawk Leader, United States Coast Guard helicopter flight in your area. Confirm you said Emma Rodriguez. Spell last name." Emma frowned. Why would Coast Guard helicopters care about her name? Hawk Leader affirmative. Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Long pause. Background voices in the helicopter. Then the military pilot's voice came back with unmistakable shock. "Emma Rodriguez. This is Commander James Patterson, flying Hawk Leader. I served with your mother. I flew missions with Captain Lisa Rodriguez. Call sign Phoenix. Did she train you to fly?" Emma's hands trembled on the controls. These people knew her mother. They'd flown with her. They thought she was dead. "Affirmative," Emma said quietly. "Phoenix trained me." "How is that possible?" "Captain Rodriguez was lost at sea 3 years ago. I was at her memorial service. Emma made a decision. Her mother had stayed hidden for 3 years to protect her, had sacrificed everything to keep Emma safe. But right now, 312 people on this aircraft needed the truth, and Emma needed her mother's voice. Hawk leader, Emma said, her voice carrying across the frequency. My mother didn't die 3 years ago. She survived. She's been alive this whole time, in hiding. She's been training me remotely for 3 years through encrypted communications. I need someone to contact encrypted channel Sierra 9 Echo immediately. Tell Phoenix her daughter needs her right now. Shocked silence. Then Patterson. Emma, that channel designation doesn't exist in any Coast Guard database. It exists in NSA monitoring archives, Emma interrupted. National Security Agency has been tracking that channel for 2 years, trying to figure out who's using it. Tell them to check their intercept logs and patch it through to this frequency. My mother will answer. She always answers when I need her. At National Security Agency headquarters in Maryland, the watch floor erupted. For 2 years, they'd been tracking encrypted channel Sierra 9 Echo. Unknown users, sophisticated encryption they couldn't crack, communications at irregular intervals. They'd flagged it as possible foreign intelligence. They'd never identified the users. Now, a 14-year-old girl flying a disabled aircraft was telling them to patch that channel through because her supposedly dead mother would answer. Get me confirmation this is real, the NSA watch commander ordered. 30 seconds later, sir, confirmed. Flight 447, Boeing 757, catastrophic decompression, both pilots down, minor child at controls. The watch commander made a decision, patch Sierra 9, echo through to aviation emergency frequency. NSA technicians worked frantically, located the channel, established the link. Static, white noise. Then, a woman's voice. Clear, calm, absolute authority. This is Phoenix. Identify yourself and state why you're contacting this channel. Everyone in the NSA Operations Center went silent. Voice recognition software analyzed the words against archived recordings. Match confirmed. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, United States Coast Guard, declared lost at sea 3 years prior. Alive. Commander Patterson transmitted, Phoenix, this is James Patterson, Hawk Flight. Your daughter Emma is currently flying Flight 447. Both pilots down. 312 souls on board. She needs you right now. Brief pause. Then Lisa's voice, and for the first time there was raw emotion in it. Emma, baby, I'm here. I've got you. Talk to me. Tell me your exact status. Emma's voice cracked. Mom. Oh God. Mom. Both pilots unconscious from decompression. I have control. Altitude 31,000 feet, descending. Autopilot engaged, but fighting damaged aerodynamics. I don't know how long it'll hold. Okay, sweetheart. Listen to me. You've trained for this exact scenario. Remember Simulation 23? Pilot incapacitation at high altitude? Yes, I remember. Good. You know exactly what to do. First priority, stabilize yourself and the aircraft. Check your oxygen. Are you getting good flow? Yes, Mom. Oxygen is good. Perfect. Now I need you to disengage the autopilot. I know that sounds scary, but you need full manual control. The autopilot doesn't understand the aerodynamic changes from the damage. You do. Disengage it now. Emma's hand moved to the autopilot button. She hesitated for 1 second. This was the moment. Disconnecting meant she would be flying manually, a real aircraft. 312 lives depending on her. She pressed the button. The autopilot disengaged with a soft chime. The controls came alive in her hands. Real feedback. Real aircraft. The aircraft lurched. Emma made immediate corrections. Small movements, gentle pressure. The aircraft stabilized. I've got it, she said. Manual control. Aircraft stable. Beautiful, baby. Perfect. You're doing perfectly. Now listen carefully. You're going to hear a lot of voices on this frequency. Controllers, military pilots, everyone wanting to help. But I need you to focus only on my voice. Block out everything else. I'm going to get you through this exactly like we practiced, one step at a time. Okay? Okay, Mom. I love you so much, Emma. You're the bravest person I've ever known. And you can absolutely do this. For the next 45 minutes, the world watched an impossible situation unfold. A 14-year-old girl manually flying a Boeing 757 at 30,000 feet. Guided by her mother, a pilot declared dead 3 years ago, whose voice came across an encrypted channel that intelligence agencies had been trying to crack. Lisa talked Emma through every procedure with calm precision. Start your emergency descent. We need to get to 10,000 feet where everyone can breathe without masks. Reduce power to idle, extend speed brakes, lower the nose to 3,000 feet per minute descent. Engines to idle. Speed brakes out. Descent established. Good. Monitor your speed. Don't let it go above 300 knots. That's maximum safe speed. Speed 280, staying below 300. You're doing perfect. The Coast Guard helicopters from Hawk Flight repositioned to fly alongside the commercial jet. The military pilots could see into the cockpit through the windows. They saw both pilots slumped unconscious. They saw a small girl in the co-pilot's seat, hands on the controls, flying with smooth, professional movements. Visual confirmation, Patterson transmitted. Confirm a minor is flying the aircraft. She appears completely in control. This is incredible. News channels picked up the story within minutes. Emergency radio scanners caught the initial mayday, posted it online. Within 10 minutes, major news networks were broadcasting worldwide. 14-year-old flying commercial jet after pilots incapacitated. Girl trained by dead mother saves 312 lives. Mother declared dead 3 years ago, alive, guiding daughter through crisis. But none of that mattered to Lisa. Her entire world had narrowed to one thing: getting her daughter safely on the ground. At 25,000 feet, how's your fuel, baby? Emma checked. Fuel shows 14,000 pounds. Good. More than enough. How are the passengers? Emma glanced back. Flight attendants are helping people. Most have oxygen masks off now, some crying, some scared. But no panic. You're keeping them alive, Emma. Every one of them. At 15,000 feet, Los Angeles Center came on. Flight 447, we're clearing all traffic from your route. You have priority handling. LAX is standing by with emergency services. Copy Los Angeles Center, Emma responded. Professional. Calm. Lisa said, Emma, in about 25 minutes, we're going to start the approach into LAX. I need to brief you on the landing. It's going to be the hardest part. Not because you can't do it. You absolutely can. But because there's the least room for error. I'm going to talk you through every single step. I'll be with you every second. What if I mess up? You won't. But even if something goes wrong, we'll handle it together. That's what we've always done. Work through problems together. At 10,000 feet, the desert landscape was clearly visible below. Mountains, valleys. Emma had flown over this area in simulators dozens of times. But this wasn't a simulator. This was real. Lisa must have sensed her daughter's fear. Talk to me, baby. What are you feeling? Scared. Really scared. That's okay. Fear is normal. Fear is healthy. It keeps you sharp. Every pilot feels fear. The difference between a good pilot and a bad one isn't whether you feel fear. It's what you do with it. You acknowledge it, then you put it aside and fly the airplane. Can you do that? Yes. I know you can. I've watched you do it 100 times in training. This is just one more training session. Except this time, everyone gets to see how amazing you are. At 8,000 feet, Los Angeles Center gave Emma headings that would line her up with the runway. Flight 447, turn left heading 250. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Left 250, descending to 6,000. Lisa coached her through each turn. Smooth on the controls, don't rush it. At 6,000 feet, the approach began. Okay, Emma, pre-landing checklist. One item at a time. Ready? Ready. Flaps. Extend to position 1. Emma's hand moved to the flap lever, pulled it to first position. The aircraft slowed as wing flaps deployed. Flaps 1. Speed reducing to 190 knots. Good. Reduce power. We want 180 knots for approach. Reducing. 180 knots. Perfect. Landing gear down. Emma pulled the landing gear lever, a rumbling vibration as wheels extended. 3 green lights appeared. Gear down, 3 green lights. Beautiful baby. You're doing everything exactly right. Los Angeles International Airport appeared ahead. Emma could see the runways clearly. Emergency vehicles lined both sides of runway 25L. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, all with lights flashing. News helicopters circled at a distance. Cameras broadcasting live to the entire world at 4,000 feet. Flaps to position 2. Flaps 2, reduce speed to 160 knots. 160 knots. At 3,000 feet, flaps full. Flaps full. Speed 140 knots. That's your landing speed. Hold 140 all the way to the runway. New underscore line, 140 knots, holding. At 2,000 feet, Emma could see individual people on the ground, news crews, airport personnel, all watching. Her hands were shaking, but her flying remained smooth. At 1,000 feet, Lisa said, "You're lined up perfectly." Altitude, speed, descent rate, everything perfect. Now, Emma, I need to brief you on the landing itself. At 50 feet above the ground, you're going to start the flare. That means pulling back gently to raise the nose slightly. Main wheels touch first, then nose wheel. Once all three wheels are down, deploy thrust reversers and apply brakes. The airplane will slow down just like we practiced. What if I flare too early? You'll float a bit. No problem, long runway, plenty of room. What if I flare too late? Firm landing. The gear can handle it. Still no problem. Emma, listen. This airplane wants to land. It's designed to land. Your job is just to guide it down. Trust your training. Trust your instincts. Trust me. I trust you, Mom. At 500 feet, every eye on the ground was watching. At 300 feet, Lisa said softly, "You've got this, baby. I'm so proud of you." At 200 feet, Emma could see the runway numbers, 25L in huge white letters. At 100 feet, she could see seams in the concrete. At 75 feet, almost there, get ready to flare. At 50 feet, Emma pulled back gently on the controls. The nose rose. The descent slowed. The aircraft floated above the runway. At 20 feet, still floating. At 10 feet, Emma felt the aircraft settle. The main wheels touched. Firm but controlled, not gentle, not hard. Perfect. Emma immediately pulled the thrust reversers. The engines roared. The aircraft shook with deceleration. She pressed the brakes. The massive airliner slowed, slowed, slowed. 80 knots, 60 knots, 40 knots, 20 knots. The aircraft rolled to a complete stop halfway down the runway. Absolute silence. Then Lisa's voice, breaking with emotion for the first time. "We're down, baby. You did it. Everyone's safe. You saved them all. All 312 people. You saved them." Emma sat in the pilot seat, whole body shaking, relief, exhaustion, adrenaline draining away. "We're down, Mom," she whispered. "Everyone's safe. I love you so much, Emma. So much. You're a hero. You're my hero. I love you too, Mom. When can I see you? Soon, baby. Very soon. But first, get everyone off that airplane safely." Behind Emma, passengers were crying, hugging strangers, praying, laughing with relief. Sarah, the flight attendant, leaned into the cockpit, tears streaming down her face. "You saved us. You saved all of us. Thank you. Thank you so much." Emma nodded, unable to speak. Emergency vehicles surrounded the aircraft. Paramedics rushed aboard to treat the unconscious pilots. Fire crews checked for damage. Airport police secured the area. FBI agents, FAA investigators, military personnel. Everyone wanted to talk to Emma. But first, she had to get off this airplane. She stood from the pilot's seat on shaky legs. Her gray hoodie was soaked with sweat, her hands still trembling. Flight attendants evacuated passengers down emergency stairs. Most were in shock. Some stopped to hug Emma as they passed. Some just stared at her in disbelief. A 14-year-old girl had saved them all. Emma stood at the top of the stairs, looking out at the tarmac. Chaos. News helicopters circling. News crews with cameras. Security barriers, emergency vehicles, everywhere. FBI agents. FAA investigators. Military officers. And somewhere in that crowd, her mother. Emma descended the stairs slowly. Her legs felt like rubber. At the bottom, an FBI agent approached. "Emma Rodriguez. I'm Special Agent Carter. We need to debrief you." "Where's my mother?" Emma interrupted. "Your mother is... There are procedures." "Where is she?" A voice called out from the crowd. "Emma!" There, pushing through the crowd, was a woman. Civilian clothes, jeans, jacket, dark hair longer than Emma remembered, but the same eyes, the same face. Older, thinner, lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. But unmistakably, her mother. Lisa Rodriguez, Phoenix, alive. Emma ran. They met in the middle of the tarmac, crashing together, arms wrapped around each other, both crying, holding on like they'd never let go. "You're really here," Emma sobbed. "You're really alive. You're really here." "I'm here, baby. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I had to hide. But you're safe now. We're both safe now." They stood there while the world watched. News cameras broadcasting live around the globe. A mother and daughter reunited after 3 years. A pilot declared dead returned from the shadows. A 14-year-old girl who just saved 312 lives. Military police approached cautiously. "Captain Rodriguez, you're wanted for questioning." Lisa held up one hand, still holding Emma with the other. "I'll answer every question. I'll tell you everything. I'll explain why I hid, who tried to kill me, all of it. But first, please, I need 5 minutes with my daughter, 5 minutes I've waited 3 years for. Can you give me that?" The senior officer looked at them, a mother holding her daughter, both crying, reunited after years of separation. He nodded. 5 minutes. Then we need answers. The police and FBI stepped back, giving them space. Lisa pulled Emma closer, speaking quietly. "You were incredible. The best pilot I've ever seen. Better than me, better than anyone. I was so scared. I know, but you pushed through the fear. That's what makes a great pilot. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to function despite it. Are you in trouble for faking your death? I don't know, maybe. Probably. But it doesn't matter. I did what I had to do to protect you. I'd do it again. And now it's time to stop hiding. Time to expose the people who tried to kill me. Time to get justice. Time to live in the light again. What happens now? Now I tell them everything. Who tried to kill me? Why I had to hide. How I've been training you. All of it. There will be investigations, trials, media attention. It's going to be hard, but we'll face it together. Actually together, not separated by encrypted channels. Emma hugged her mother tighter. "I missed you so much. I missed you too, baby, every single day. But I never left you. Not really. I was always there, just hidden, watching, protecting, training you to survive. The training saved my life today, saved everyone's life. That's what it was for. I prayed you'd never need it, but I prepared you just in case. And when the moment came, you were ready." 6 months after the emergency landing, Emma sat in the right seat of a small Cessna 172. Real cockpit, real controls, real sky. Lisa sat in the left seat wearing aviator sunglasses, hands near the controls but not touching them. "You're cleared for takeoff," Lisa said with a smile. Emma pushed the throttle forward smoothly. The small aircraft accelerated down the runway at a small airport outside Los Angeles. At 60 knots, she pulled back gently. The nose lifted, the wheels left the ground. They were flying. For the first time, Emma was flying a real aircraft with her mother actually beside her. Not remotely, not through screens. Actually together. "How does it feel?" Lisa asked. "Different," Emma said, banking gently left. "Better, more real, but also natural. You're unnatural." They climbed to 3,000 feet. Emma leveled off. The California coast spread out below them. Ocean, mountains, cities. "Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Those 3 years when you were hiding, when we could only talk through encrypted channels. Were you lonely?" "Every single day, I missed you so much it physically hurt. I missed your grandparents, I missed my friends, I missed normal life. But I never regretted it, because keeping you safe was more important than my loneliness. And in a way, training you kept me connected to you. Every simulator session was time together. Every audio file was a conversation. Every lesson was love. I wasn't angry at you. I know some people thought I should be, but I understood why you did it. You were 11 years old, and you understood things most adults never grasp. You're remarkable, Emma." They flew in comfortable silence, enjoying the view and the feeling of flight. Then Lisa said, "So the FAA created a special provision for you. Since you proved you can handle aircraft in emergencies, they're allowing you to begin formal flight training at 14 instead of 16. When you turn 16, you can take your private pilot test. Will you be my flight instructor? Every single lesson. I'm assigned to the training center at Coast Guard Air Station, Los Angeles now. No more dangerous rescue missions. I teach pilots during the day and come home to you every evening. Normal life." Finally, what about the people who tried to kill you? All four convicted, sentenced to federal prison. They won't hurt anyone ever again. Do you think there are others, more people involved who didn't get caught? Possibly. Agencies are still investigating, but the main conspiracy is broken. We're safe now. Actually safe. Emma executed a smooth turn, movements precise and confident. Lisa watched her daughter fly and felt overwhelming pride. You know, the airlines have been calling. United, Delta, Southwest. They all want you to know you have a job waiting when you're old enough and qualified. Really? Really? What you did was extraordinary. You're famous in aviation. The girl who saved Flight 447. I don't feel famous. I feel like I just did what you taught me to do. That's exactly what makes you special. You don't see yourself as a hero. You see yourself as someone who was prepared and did what needed to be done. That's the mark of a true professional. They practiced maneuvers for another hour. Turns, climbs, descents. All the basic skills Emma had done thousands of times in simulators, but were different in a real aircraft with real wind and real turbulence. Lisa coached gently. Little more right rudder in that turn. Good. Perfect. Now level off at 2,000 feet. As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink, they headed back to the airport. Emma flew the pattern perfectly. Her landing was smooth, barely a bump. After they parked and shut down the engine, they sat in the quiet cockpit for a moment. Thank you, Mom, Emma said. For what? For everything. For staying alive. For training me. For loving me enough to sacrifice 3 years. For being there when I needed you even though you couldn't really be there. For teaching me to rise. Lisa reached over and held her daughter's hand. You're my whole world, Emma. Everything I did for you. And I'd do it all again without hesitation. They climbed out and walked across the tarmac together. Emma looked up at her mother, the legendary pilot, the woman who survived being lost at sea, who lived in hiding for 3 years, who exposed a major conspiracy, who guided her daughter through an impossible crisis from 1,000 miles away. And Lisa looked down at her daughter, the girl who saved 312 lives at 14, who kept impossible secrets, who trained relentlessly for 3 years preparing for a crisis she hoped would never come. Phoenix. Both of them. That night, Emma sat at her desk doing homework. Math, history, reading, normal 14-year-old stuff. But on her wall was a certificate from the FAA, official recognition for her actions. Next to it was a photograph taken 6 months ago, her and her mother on the tarmac after the landing, holding each other, both crying, finally together. Her phone buzzed. A text from a friend. Want to hang out this weekend? She texted back. Can't this weekend. Flying lessons with my mom. Because some things were more important than hanging out. Like time with your mother, who'd been dead to the world for 3 years. Like learning to fly for real instead of in simulators. Like building a normal relationship after years of encrypted communications. Downstairs, Lisa was cooking dinner. Real cooking in a real kitchen in a real home where she could live openly without hiding. She heard Emma's footsteps on the stairs. Need help? Emma called. Always, Lisa called back. They cooked together, talked about Emma's day at school, made plans for the weekend. Normal, beautiful, real. But underneath the normal, there was something extraordinary. They both knew that if crisis came again, if another emergency happened, if another impossible situation arose, they were ready. Because Phoenix had taught Emma more than how to fly. She taught her how to rise, and rising wasn't something you did just once. It was something you carried with you always, the ability to face fear, to handle crisis, to stay calm when everything went wrong, to save not just yourself but everyone depending on you. Those lessons would last forever. Outside, the evening stars appeared. Somewhere, aircraft were flying, commercial jets carrying passengers, Coast Guard helicopters on missions, small planes with student pilots learning, and among them in spirit was Phoenix. Not dead, not hiding, not silent, but alive, present, rising, through her daughter's courage, through their shared bond, through the lessons that love taught across impossible distances. Call sign Phoenix would never die. It would just keep rising. Generation after generation, mother to daughter, pilot to pilot, forever.